here knows what Monetate is, but I'll just briefly go over it. Monetate is our A/B testing platform. It's a vendor that we work with, and they provide a tool to compose and create A/B tests. And what the business really uses Monetate for is to test different experiences. Like if we have a UI change or we're testing a different color of button, we can test that with our traffic. And so if we wanted a red button instead of a green button, we can split the traffic 50-50, or we could even do like an ABCD test, split the traffic, and then we can figure out if that color of button change worked. And if it did, if it had a positive uplift into sales or any kind of traffic leading to something else, then we go back, look at the test results, and then there's a winner to that test. And then we go back and implement and integrate that change into the front end. Monetate is cross-brand. We use it on QVC and HSN. Another thing that we use Monetate for is prototyping. We can develop a proof of concept about what we want to try to build. A good example of this is the hackathon. There were several developers using Monetate and then using the QVC site, since everything's there in our QA environment, and you can quickly spin up some ideas. And then we also use it for experimenting with a vendor. Maybe we haven't signed on the dotted line with them yet, and we can quickly spin up their application and see if it will work with our front end. We also use it for Band-Aids sometimes. There is limitations with that, which I'll get into later. So what will happen is there might be something in our content that's broken, and we can fix it temporarily until, the next day, the next morning, we come in and look at it and fix it properly. Band-Aids don't follow our engineering excellence principle. So discussions take place beforehand before we even use it for that kind of thing. And I just wanted to just show you what exactly that we work in. There we go. So I'll just give you a quick overview of the tool. So everybody has their own account. Here's some analytics. In this Lunch and Learn is more developer centric. So I'm not going to really get into like what the testing team really looks at as far as making a decision. This is more of a deep dive into what a developer would do and working within AEM or even HSN's CMS as well. So typically we figure out what is needed, and everything in Monetate is called an experience. And then inside of an experience are different actions that we can use. And I'll show you an example here. Here is this is a test that is active currently in QA1. Sticky add to cart. So nothing is really set up as far as where the traffic goes, but we can easily add more variants. But this is this will go to all customers. And then if I go into this action, you'll see that this is the code or JavaScript that's actually going to run on this page based on these certain conditions here. So if the customer lands on a product page and then we have a variable called scroll equals false, then this CSS will load into that page and this JavaScript will load into that page. So this is a test that we did with sticky add to cart, just to see if it would work on I believe it was PDP pages on mobile responsive, and then
So Ryan, sorry, just a quick
sure.
question. So it is a runtime JavaScript injection. Is that what?
Yes,
Okay.
this is all client side. So what happens on our site here is Monetate will load and then make modifications to the page. So I'll run through production real quick. And then there can be certain tests running at any given time that can adjust the website. And there's a sticky header that was tested. And I was going to, here we go. So this would be an example of this. Okay, so the sticky masthead for desktop. So here was this split. It was 50A and 50B. So this audience, the what we would call the B audience, got the control, and the control is what it is normally, and then this the other 50% of our traffic was shown this action instead, which kind of goes in. It'll go into the web into this header that was normally static before, and add the JavaScript to make it slide out like that.
And Ryan, how is it identifying the traffic? What is it using to actually determine that this is the same unique customer or this is the same unique individual, or does it not have that ability to determine that?
It does. This is out of the box functionality from Monetate. There have been instances where we have hired a third party to make sure that their splits are actually correct. And I believe through the time that we've been using Monetate, there's been bumps down the road with data integrity, but they're really quick to fix that and make any kind of adjustments as necessary. So the split is coming from Monetate's native product to do the split. And what it basically is they make the decision on the split, and then they have a cookie which tells us, are they A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever is set up in this area here. And then their platform will start making requests to their CMS, which you're seeing here. This is kind of like a CMS. I'm building all this stuff. And then it loads that in asynchronously through JavaScript. So that's why you might hear, I think I have an example of it.
And that's unique
you
for
might
test.
hear of like the flicker that happens. So if you look, whoops, hold on 1 second. You can actually see it load in. So this is without Monetate right now. And what I'm going to do for my test is, hey, I want to test if product detail tests better if it's here and the top line's here. So it is client side. And then when I hit refresh, it decides which one I am. And then if you can look right here, focus right here, you see that shift. So it's client side. So we kind of have to deal with this flickering stuff on an individual basis. So I'll get more into that later, but that's how it loads in as far as all these campaigns that we're creating. So if you have a lot of them, like let's say we have a lot of them on the homepage, that's probably not the greatest idea because you could have a bunch of flickering going on there. And it's just a lot of JavaScript being injected on the page. And I'll definitely go more into how they're doing that in the next couple slides. So this is basically where you work in. So there's different kinds of actions, and actions are basically components, and those are what are, we can have a CSS action, a JavaScript action, and an HTML action. Maybe the HTML is getting replaced by something else. So we have a lot to use and to pick from, and we can make our own. So that's basically how a developer would go in here and use Monetate, is create the experience. Within the experience, there's different actions. And depending on what the story is, hey, we need to rebrand several elements, or hey, we need to make a search tuning adjustment. Let's figure this out in Monetate first, and then we'll bake it into the services, which search interface provided a better experience. So let's go back. I'm just going to jump back here.
Bob, and did you get your question answered about it, how the cookie assignment works and how it's unique for campaign? You could be in group A on this test and then be in group B on the next test, both at the same time. They're independently split, but it does remember you. And maybe Ryan, you can kind of shed light on how does it tie that cookie that you're in group A for the sticky add to bag button, for how long, whether you're authenticated, not authenticated. How does that mechanism work?
Sure. So when I'm in one of these experiences, whoops, let me make sure I'm not in any kind of production environment. That was just a show. Sec here. So when I was showing those multiple A and B tests, those A and B cookies come down, and then Monetate looks at what cookie assignment the customer is in, and then Monetate then goes back and grabs that A content. So
as long as you don't clear your cookies, you remain in the same group for the duration of that test, right? And that's kind of one of the things. And I don't remember the fancy word, Ryan, but one of the problems that we're having is at times a person could start off in group A and then during the test somehow or another shift to B, even without clearing their cookies. And the testing team has a word for what they call that, and they try to resolve it, right? Because it dilutes the validity of the numbers. Because if you're not in a particular group the whole test, then it kind of skews what you're seeing and what the experience is. But
yeah, and I believe that's been an ongoing thing. And there is we do this like cookie refresh, where we can clear the cookie, and then when they come back in, they'll be recookied. Because anytime we recookie, that means we're starting the test all over again. And sometimes these experiences use other cookies from a vendor, or maybe, like, for example, Granify, they pass a cookie into us. So sometimes it can definitely not match up. Let's see. So I'll talk about the good parts of Monetate. It's A/B testing centric, like you can see. The testing team can pull reports, and I believe you'll see emails about the results and what was working, what didn't, and you can actually go to those exact results. This is good because we can develop a test for a new experience, or maybe we're doing an enhancement with our to an existing feature, just to test something out. Or maybe the business really needs to pivot on something. For example, in DE for load B, they needed to pivot really quick with Dyson. So I used Monetate to facilitate any kind of design changes that Dyson wanted to that experience. I just did them in Monetate, just because it was just kept changing. And if I did that in the front end, I would have to keep doing pull requests, and it would just get annoying. And other developers would say, hey, why aren't you just doing this all in one go? But Dyson needed to preview every single change that we did. So this is where Monetate can be a good thing, where we're not really using their A/B testing functionality. We're just using, hey, I can log into this, get a CR, and make these quick adjustments to the DE market. And then here's an example of all Monetates in all of our geos. We have a dev environment and production for each. Back here. So we can really go in there and start right away with building an experience. And then once we're done with that test, again, we will implement that into the front end. Monetate offers templates, and you can also build your own template. Fairly easy. It's all JavaScript. And I'll give an example here. So I know I have my predictive search. Here we go. Give me 1 second. I didn't have this loaded up. Okay, so this is one of our predictive search templates where we'll pass in a search interface here. So this might be search interface A, B, C, D, or I think there's another one. It's ABC int or something like that. So we would use this template to say, hey, I need a search interface A, B, C, D, whatever. And then in Monetate, we come back in here, create a new experience. Oh, that one's actually already published. We would create a new experience. And then inside of this A, we would do an action. We know it's going to be full JavaScript here. I'm going to just copy and paste this. And then here's all the different like pre-made components you can use. But we know exactly what we want. We want generic JS. This is all I got to do. Put this in here. And then I would assign this to A. Sorry. And then I can add any conditions in here, like page type, like we saw. Is it a product page? And all these, all page types are mapped in the front end. So Monetate will know if you're on a product page, a cart page, a content page, all that good stuff. You can also, by URL, so you could have URL contains some kind of parameter, and maybe a vendor keys off that parameter or something like that. So I would do this, hit create, and that's my A. And then this is our search tuning template. So I can add another variant. Again, blank. This will be my B search interface. So then I would take that. Now, obviously, all this code has to go in there. I'll talk about that later. But now we have a template where somebody can go in, kind of change and tune, and then in Monetate, throw your A1 in there, your B, your C, whatever you need. And then there's your traffic allocation, and then you can start building in your finishing up your campaign. So that's pretty much how we'll build an A/B test. And then when we go to production, we just transfer the A/B test in there, and then the testing team goes through and does this part themselves. Or maybe the testing team has something specific or specific visitors they can target a bunch of different things based on data sets, tech. This could be if they're on a browser or a device. They can get device types or only run this on an iOS or Android. So we can have different tests, a variation of the test on different platforms. So it's really flexible if you need to have some mobile only content or some other kind of chain or limit based on the user's profile.
Ryan, maybe, oh, there it is. I guess that you'll cover the bad parts.
Yeah.
I guess my question was more around our ability to do it at a server side versus a client side, but I'll wait.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely have a slide for that. I'll definitely get into that. I have a whole, yeah. Yep. Another good part about Monetate is there's times where we hire Monetate to build custom actions that have specific functionality where we need to use every day. And that's actually a nice thing to have because they can work on that, and then somebody from the testing team can just plug in basically high level information, and then their code behind the scenes takes care of everything else. So if we, I'm just going to show one really quickly in UK QVC. Let's see. Here's that load B enhancer I was talking about. It's just some CSS overrides and maybe some JavaScript. And they just wanted, just a different image. They wanted an extra link, and then it goes in and enhances that experience. Now, it's called sold out. I think the UK has a very specific sold out experience. It's different from all other geos. Here it is. So if you see this icon here, this is the Monetate icon. This means that they developed it for us. So if you look at this is very specific to the business needs. Out of stock, it can redirect you to whatever you want here, a list of redirect URLs. Here's the HTML that will be replaced on that page. It's basically saying, hey, this item's sold out. Here's some other stuff you might like. And then here's the modal. It opens up a modal with the width and height. And then here's the rating. How would you rate our recommendation? Sad face, happy, or thumbs up? I don't see an in between, but that's okay. And then, or we could add more. And then we are doing the OOS API, out of sale API, I think. For Endeca to key off of to return those recommended results. Here's the custom CSS for that experience. And then here's the close button. There's specific things for the close button. So this is an example of a Monetate widget designed specifically for QVC UK that has functionality where I believe their SEO team uses this to add in these products where they want a redirect. And then the other good part is if you're a front-end developer, HTML, CSS, it all works. Perhaps it's not the best idea to be loading in JS and CSS after the site's been loaded, but we'll get into that. A dev can decide to only update certain things. Monetate offers that CSS action or replace a block of HTML with this block. Or you can use all three to create a full experience. Any questions so far about testing in general, how we build tests, or working in Monetate? Good? All right, with there's good parts, there's going to be bad parts. The biggest one, personally for me, is it's client side only. And that makes things difficult on development because for the most part, we're overriding code, or we're doing things like this. Being important. This is something that is a bad practice, but just the way this works client side, we have to override those styles. We have to override that font. We have to override that background color. So these styles all come from the front end and they get loaded in, then Monetate comes through, and then we're overriding these styles. And what in the CSS world, what bang important means is says ignore the front end's rule for this page content, rating, summary, or bizarre voice, main container. So then we have to override those. So basically, front end CSS is coming down, then Monetate, this CSS is coming down, and changing it up. And for a developer, that's this kind of work is, kind of hacky, and we're just overriding things. So it can be kind of boring, for lack of better word. Then overriding JavaScript. So if you remember how I said we have to load this all in for A, B, C, D, right? This is because we're injecting this variable in here, and there's no point at which we have access at the time for this call type ahead. So when I'm typing in the address bar, it's calling that type ahead that's returning those search terms. I'm passing in this main interface. So this is what Monetate is overriding. Give me 1 second. Whoops. So we have on the QVC front end, I'm trying to get it up here. Okay. So this is this predictive search JS is coming from the front end. And if you notice, it's exactly the same, almost exactly the same file. And then Monetate will load this, which is not exact. There's some injection points in here. There's some differences in here, but we still have to load up all of this. And if you look, this is exactly what Monetate is doing in here is I'm on qvc.com. And that variable is predictive search. This is our predictive search component. Predictive search component. And here it is right here. I can access it in the browser because JavaScript is client side. And this is basically what I'm doing in Monetate. Once this comes through the front end, I'm overriding add input listeners and call type ahead. So that is, and then as a developer, you're kind of like, you're copying and pasting this and just making a few changes. And then some of the worst things that we do is when the page is already loaded, we start moving things around. Just like I showed you in that example, when this moves over here, you can visually see it. And if that's done server side, it's so much nicer to work with. Here's an example of let's see, IBM product recommendations. This is one of my favorite examples because it's just crazy, and there's a lot of string concatenation going on. This is no longer Monetate. It's actually in AEM now. It's way better than this. But this is an example of like, we have to go in there, create this HTML. And if somebody wanted to change to this, it's not like I'm coming into the front end, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to change this and this and this. No, I'm going in here and I'm figuring, oh my gosh, I got to change this guy to like, I don't even know. They don't want this to show anymore. So I got to say hidden. And it's just a mess. So this is another thing that kind of development we have to sort of deal with in overriding the content that they want to test. And this is mainly due to the client side. This second one isn't necessarily all true. At some point, there has been times where this happened where we need Monetate to load way beforehand, like the reviews so our reviews vendor is Bizarre Voice. We needed to make a Monetate experience load way ahead of time, and we had to put like all like the two experiences on the page, and then once they do the split, they'll figure out the cookie, and then Monetate can run the correct test. But this isn't always true. Shifting elements. I gave you an example, but here's one that you can. So I'm going to show that same example. However, I'm going to go mobile and change my network to just a slow 3G. You'll see the shifting element more pronounced. So what if I don't know, I'm in upstate New York and I'm shopping on the site. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't have the fastest connection. And then the website is, kind of shifting around. Give it a couple more seconds. Maybe I put it on too slow. But you saw it kind of. Yeah. So that can be a problem. And the other kind of thing that I'm getting at is this thing could be loading so slow, or there's multiple tests on the page, and then this kind of thing happens. I can't. You're moving my cheese, man. I just want to buy this product. So this can kind of happen if there's a lot going on, or maybe the test isn't efficient enough, or maybe we're still waiting for Monetate to load due to some network connectivity. This is not a good experience, and you can kind of tell if you know about A/B testing that, wow, they're testing on me right now. But this is a extreme example of what can happen. But on a slower connection, you got different branding elements changing. This could be something that somebody experiences. And then
Ryan, so the question is,
sure.
Is it our implementation? Sorry, I'm hearing a lot of echo. Is it our implementation, or Monetate just does not have the ability to do server-side integration?
Well, they wouldn't want to get into server-side integration, because if we did do that, like let's say we're server-side rendering the page, we're pulling in product stuff, and now we're pulling in A/B test, but we have to make a hop to Monetate, a totally different domain, and then get back stuff from them. So we're waiting for our page for all our stuff. We can load their stuff asynchronously, but there would still be some kind of waiting time, or it could time out, so we would have to deal with it. Then the page would go down the wire, and then it would be rendered on the browser. They do have some API stuff, but I don't think that getting content from a vendor repository would be performant for us. You'll see I think we should be looking at more kind of like use Monetate definitely, because that's all we have right now, but maybe look at other ways of doing it server side through AEM. Look at HSN's A/B testing implementation that they can do server side, and maybe mimic the same thing in Java. So we could definitely change it, but it would require, it's a can of worms that I'm opening talking about the bad parts of Monetate. Does that
Yeah,
help?
makes sense. I think it's certainly something that we should explore, right, as we continue to do heavy testing, um, along with maybe reconsidering our testing practices as well, right? Not having to have too many tests running at the same time, or not having to have tests remain there for extended period of time. So
Yeah.
not saying that moving to server side is the only resolution, but definitely something to explore.
Yeah. And then the other part, it's not necessarily bad, but building actions in Monetate require the front end Trinity. Um, you can, but the problem is I'm talking about that whole overriding thing as a developer. Like as a developer, I expect to go in, here's my carousel, view, and just working in your own development environment that you're familiar with. I'm familiar with the QVC front end. I know where everything is. But when a developer jumps over to Monetate, it's like a completely different environment. Their code thing, their code editor is just on a website. There's no really good undo features like my IDE right here. I mean, this is what I know. This is what, and then I have file history, file history from code repository. And so if I'm exclusively developing in this little field here as a developer, it's just not very intuitive like I'm used to developing for the front end. And I think other developers could attest for that. Is trying to show a better example. Here it is I'm just sitting in this. And if I make any kind of mistakes, that's why I'm working like this. I work here and then I copy it out of here. And then so it's kind of time consuming going back and forth, but that's just like a developer kind of complaint about it, is I'm not in my comfortable development environment with my tools and all my stuff. I'm in a vendor's sandbox pretty much. And then ad blockers and GDPR. So out of the box, all ad blockers block Monetate. If you saw me, click this button on and off, I'm actually disabling it and then re-enabling it, seeing what tests are there. And real quick segue in how ad blockers work. Most of them subscribe to this easy list. This is the big global ad blocking list in the whole entire universe. And guess who's on there? You'll see Monetate blocked from privacy. It's basically privacy. So anytime I hit this button, it's using this list, this privacy list, and blocking Monetate. So that could throw off our, we don't know who's blocking. And maybe we spent like 2 months on a Monetate thing and people are blocking it. It's kind of like, hey, is this work valuable? But that's just a given. And then GDPR. So for UK and DE, this is live right now. Customers have to opt in manually to Monetate due to GDPR changes. You would have to opt out yourself previously. So any kind of Band-Aid we're using for UKDE, we need to bake it in. And any kind of tests that we're running now, how are we going to do that? Are we going to let them opt in themselves? And then the performance, like you saw on the slow devices. And then masking. So Monetate does offer a masking solution where they will mask the content. It's called content masking, but it's just a white background. I don't have an example right now, but the mask gives the illusion that the site's loading slowly because it's just a white background. And then when it's done doing its movement, then it shows. If you've ever seen Facebook or Twitter or any of those social networks, when content is loading, their content mask kind of looks like the content. Do you know what I mean? Like you might see a circle and some like wavy lines representing the text.
It's like blurred.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can tell there's some kind of like content loading in. It's like a tweet loading in or a Facebook post loading in. It has the layout there, no image, no nothing, but has this, and then they change out that with the content. If Monetate could improve the mask so it's not just white like that, it would require customization on our side. But it's more of like a lazy loading, but there's content initially to kind of show you that layout. So that would be that's an improvement for content masking, but it just hasn't gotten around to Monetate yet. And then looking forward, just like Bobbin was talking about, we need to look at server-side A/B testing at some point. HSN does have this ability. Like I showed you how I was working in Monetate in their little editor. On HSN, I can work in my normal things that I'm familiar with, and I can just pull in an A/B test. So this is A/B test 259. If that equals B, which will correspond to our database here. So I think I said 250, yeah, 250 something, 259. Here's that test. What? Sorry. Here's that test right here. Here's the A and the B. So here's the A split 0.4, here's the B split 5.9. And in my code, I just say, hey, this block is for this test here. So anything with YouTube test, I'm just using that as a Boolean right here. It's a ternary operator, but I'm just checking, hey, is this A or B or whatever? And then I do true or false, because they wanted to display this video inline or not. And I can just work in my environment, C#. I don't have to go anywhere. So AEM does have module level A/B testing. It's something that we don't really utilize, and I'll show you why. So here's our authoring instance, and this is the footer. This is the footer in AEM. So if I wanted to A/B test this manage your account, I have no way of doing that as it stands right now. But when I talked about the module level of this, do you see how I selected this whole module? If I go into the settings there, I do have A/B testing options, and I could enable it. And A/B testing in AEM on the module level does have unique IDs, so we could check things. But again, we have to be very specific on this as just a module that has components inside of it. We can't do this whole like change everything at once like Monetate can do. So AEM custom A/B system, kind of what Bobbin was also talking about. This is an option. There is a hook. I haven't gotten into it yet, but we could look at maybe HSN's A/B testing and maybe look at the logic and the business rules around it, and maybe just have a Java implementation of that so that AEM could switch things out, determine things server side, determine content server side. So it just gets thrown down the page and the browser renders it, on the first go.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a good subsequent conversation. Sorry, I don't know if it's me or it's just loud effect though.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll be curious to see what the difference in implementation is on both ends. And we use Monetate for HSN as well.
Yes. There are
So,
rules to the Monetate in HSN where if it does cause flickering, we will use our CMS AB, which it'll come server side from CMS, or we will use this method right here in the front end. So they actually have two ways of doing it. So if HSN sees that, hey, we're moving two elements that are on top of the page and you can tell they're moving, that's when they'll use one of those other options. On the AEM side of things, on the Q side of things, we just rely on Monetate. We're just doing the best that we can. We have done like some things like fading keeping the element hidden and then fading in it, and so it's not so jerky. So there are things that we can do to kind of pad that. But a big block of content shouldn't be coming in client side that has tons of UI changes. I can
right.
understand something like a add to cart and you click the button and it ajaxes in your items and stuff like that. That's fine because that's a UI element that's getting data, but to have elements coming in through Ajax is like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. But I'm not knocking client side. It was very hard for me to be completely neutral. I'm sort of biased towards the client side and stuff like that, but I'm hoping I'm giving an honest an honest look at Monetate.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a love-hate relationship with Monetate from a dev perspective, right? I think we all agree that A/B testing is important and we should let data decide where we go. If it's unclear, let the best test win, so to speak. So that's the power of Monetate. It comes with some cons, right? Even in that situation, and you find a great test, like the best test that I can remember is for HSN a couple years back, we decided to test the order of our reviews on a particular product on the PDP. And we initially had it in the most recent one bubbled to the top, and we were sorting by recency. And an idea was suggested, well, what if we sorted by highest rated first? Would that make a difference? And we tested it out, and it ended up being like a multi-million-dollar decision over the course of a year to do that. So there's power there. Of course, it also comes with a con. Even in those tests right now, you got to bake in the winner, or you're going to continue to have the Monetate overhead and flicker and all the things that Ryan has already called out as the con. So that's one thing. And in another example, this one's probably more hate than love. A recent HSN example, Mike Fitzharris, because of COVID and all that's done to our shipping deliverables, right, with folks that are actually having to work in warehouses and delaying there. A couple of our recent HSN TSVs have been on wait list. And the default logic on the PD page for a waitlist item is, I don't care what your delivery date override record says on how soon it's going to get there. If you tell me it's waitlist, I'm showing extended delivery on the PDP above the add to bag button. And we know that's a detractor for sales, and we try not to have TSVs on waitlist, but in some cases it can't be avoided. So suppressing that, because we've gone in, worked with the vendor to get it down to away from the 18-day normal waitlist delivery days down to 10, which is our 3 to 7 business days. But unless you were able to change the status of that product from waitlist to available, you're still going to have that extended delivery. So Monetate was a great way to go in there and say, on PDP for this particular item on this particular day, suppress the extended delivery messaging above add to bag, right? So pros and cons, love, hate.
Right.
It's a powerful tool, but we just need to be careful when we do it. And exactly what Ryan spoke about most recently, right, with our top third, massive tests, probably not best way to go. We need to figure out a better way, and we'll have lessons learned once that thing's live, and we go back to the testing team and kind of figure out next time how can we do it in a better way. Good stuff.
Ryan, thank you for doing the demo. I know
Sure.
we've been asking questions along the way.
No worries.
Curious to see if anybody else has any questions. Curious about
Sure.
what we use this for.
I just wanted to quickly mention Adobe does have their own A/B test platform. It's called Adobe Target. I don't know how much it costs, but I've only looked at it just recently because there's no way for me to grab a demo of this or anything like that. But in AEM, you can break apart things and test. It's just, I guess, something we might need Adobe for us to look at. So there's all
Interesting that you
kinds
mentioned that. Adobe Target's one of the, I think, shortlist products that we're looking at from the personalization perspective.
Okay.
So that's something that we can dive into deeper with them.
Yeah. Just wanted to mention that as a potential option.
Perfect. Any other questions? Anybody on the call have any questions that they have not gotten their answers for through demo?
Ryan, is it easy for you to quantify how many active A/B tests that we have running in Monetate right now on either the H or Q platform?
Yep. So HSN Prod active. Does it give me? Whoops, I was searching. Hold on, I think I'm in the wrong area.
Not quite 400.
Ooh.
380.
Actually, HSN is really light. Okay, does it have a number here?
I see on the top of the left nav, all web experiences, I think it says 38. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But.
Oh, yeah. So if I take off this, so we have 38 in HSN, yep, and then QVC prod, QVC V2 production.
400. Almost.
Some of them have been going. Hold on, wait until I press the
3,000.
active status. I'm just gonna wait till, okay, here you go. 151. We're chugging.
That's a lot of tests.
Yep.
That's a lot of tests.
Yeah,
Hence
it's a
the
lot of
need
weight
for-
on the pages. That's why we're trying to bake them in and make it a
Exactly.
very conscious effort to do this.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to see that and just kind of, reiterate with those on PXP that are looking to cross-train that there's plenty of work there for bake-ins. So it won't be like a wasted effort to get up to speed on Monetate.
Yeah,
Right?
and this also contributes to, like our performance score on the pages and whatnot. So we will be focused from the product experience anyway. We will be focusing on identifying the heaviest and trying to get those baked in.
And see, some of these are just one-liners. Like, hey, give me this element that contains EasyPay, hide it, and based on indexes, yeah. So I'm sure it's a different mix of JavaScript work as well. Yep.
Great. All right, we're already over, but so Ryan, thank you again for going to the demo. I hope that everybody found it informative enough. I certainly did. Oftentimes you hear the terminologies and the platform name, and you don't necessarily have the context of what it really takes to do something. And I'm personally finding a lot of these demos helping in those conversations, right? When somebody says, "Oh, we got to do something in Monetate," you at least have an idea, slight idea of what it takes to do something in those platforms. So thank you for doing this.
Sure, it was good.
And next session, I think we're moving for a couple of the next sessions, we're moving from platforms and tools to more of technologies and technology platforms. I don't know if you have Zhao on. Are you on, Zhao? I think Zhao was going to take Angular, and then I think we have Zach taking Kubernetes and Console and Vault right after that. So we're moving to a little bit more of a technology versus the application. So great.
Sounds good.
That's good. Thank you, everybody. See
See you
ya.
guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Good job, Ryan.